statute or ordinance that I have to wear this? No? Thank you.
Not at this time.
Thank you. So is everyone enjoying the great American experiment in communism that we're all currently living through? I hope so, because it can only get worse. So I'm here, as I was last month, to talk about the reaction to the virus. And as I stated then, the great danger is not the virus itself, but the reaction to it. So we were told that millions would die. Then we were told, first it was 5 million, then 2 million, then 1 million, then 500,000, and now we're at somewhere between 100 and 200,000 is what we're being told will die from this. If I need to remind the council, last year's flu season killed 80,000 people in the country, and we did not shut down the entire country. So now let's zoom into Texas for a moment. In Texas, it has a population of 30 million people. It's the 6th largest economy in the world. As of today, 477 people have died from coronavirus. Now let's zoom into Harris County. In Harris County, as of today, 77 people have died from coronavirus. The population of Houston is Harris County is nearly 5 million people. So I would like someone in this august body to please explain to me why in a population of 5 million over the last 30 days, 77 people have died, yet we have eliminated the right to gather over a certain number, and we have shuttered all non-essential commerce, which is dictated again by the government, not decided by the people. Can anyone tell me logically why this is happening? Why we have completely shut down our city for something over a month period has killed less than 100 people? Because all I see is hysteria. I see absolute hysteria. I see people afraid to leave their own homes. I see people afraid to stand next to one another, go to church, go out and have a meal with their families. And the reality is I have no animosity towards anyone on this body. But the reality is, and especially you, Mr. Mayor, you are to blame. Every business that shutters, every person that's evicted, every person that loses their home, that loses their job for a reaction to something that we cannot credibly say even truly exists as a threat at this point. The United Nations released a report today that said the economic consequences of this shutdown in the first world will lead to over 30 million starving in the third world. For every 1 point, thank you.
Your time has expired.
Thank you very much. Oh, I'm sorry. Councilmember Knox.
Can you wrap up your comments? We stopped you in mid-sentence there. If you'll just finish your comment.
For every 1 point of unemployment that goes up, you're talking about tens of thousands of people that will die by suicide, that will die by drug addiction. And those are the things that we can directly trace. The fallout and the consequences of continuing to keep our economy shut down will lead to far greater damage to human life and will create more human suffering. Mr. Mayor, I call on you to be a leader and to open the city, to follow Governor Abbott's call to reopen the cities. There has been nowhere near the loss of life for us that can be quantified for us to continue to have Houston shut down.
Thank you, Mr. Womack. Appreciate it.
Mayor Pro Tem Martin.
Yes, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor. And is it Dr. Womack or is it Mr.
No,
Womack?
Mr. Womack.
When you get arrested, do you have a financial advisor defend you in a court of law?
Yes, sir.
You do. You have a financial advisor defend you in a court of law.
I get advice from legal lessons.
Okay. When you have a problem with your taxes, do you call an
I have
electrical
no
engineer?
credibility
It's my
because I'm not a
time.
doctor.
It's
That's
my
what you're
time.
implying.
It's
I'm not
my
a doctor.
time.
One second.
When you have a financial problem, do you call an electrical engineer?
No.
So we listen to the doctors, okay? We let data and science
Their
drive our
models have
results.
been continually
It's
wrong.
my time,
They've had to
sir.
revise the models
We let
down
you yell
every
for the
time.
last 15
I'm
seconds.
responding to the points
One
you're making,
second.
sir.
1 second. Now,
I'm finished with you. That's an idiotic statement you just made. Do you know how many? What about the folks who have relatives that passed away, like yours truly, who had my second relative pass away because of coronavirus?
So the entire city should suffer for a
because
minority.
Of that.
All people's freedoms should be removed
damn
for
right
a threat
you
that does
should.
not exist.
One second. Councilmember.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Womack, I appreciate you coming here today. I will say is I don't know if it's necessary for you to yell. I think your points could be made just as well if you just discussed it with us. With that said, you don't need to be a doctor either. You can be a person who reads, who educates yourself, as we all have, as we all do. I find it interesting when people make these arguments, you're not a doctor, you're not a doctor, you're not a doctor, because I've been listening and watching all these doctors on TV, and they're all contradicting themselves. I've found that one of the things we're going to come out of this with is not everybody who claims to be an expert's an expert. There was bad data, and the bad data leads to bad decisions. And I think that's something we're going to find out about this. Interestingly, recently we just looked at an MIT study that was done by Jeffrey Harris, who's an economist over there, and he found that epidemiologist, and he found that the reason why New York City was hit with such high death rates was because of their mass transit. Interestingly, New York City accounts for 52% of the deaths in the United States. Stanford came out with one last week, and along with the USC, these were two separate studies. USC did one, and Stanford did one that found that 37% of the people in California most likely already have the antibodies. This leads you to think that the horse was already out of the barn when they shut the gate. We won't know this for a while. I am very bothered by the numbers. I'm very bothered by the data that the IHME, if we look at those modeling that was done by IHME, that everybody moved to continue.
Is there a motion to extend? Been moved, second. Any objection? Hearing none, granted.
I find the IHME, which is most people use as a modeling, there were other models, other states had models, but that was the one that was prevalently used. That numbers, you're right, what you stated was exactly right. Those numbers kept going down, 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 down. Interestingly, though, if you look at the flu, and this is what I'm trying to figure this out, the flu's not at its all-time high. You're right. It was, in 2018, it was 80,000. 2018. And it comes and goes. Some years it's better, some years it's worse. And that's as a result of whether or not they get the vaccine right that year. But this year, the flu numbers haven't gone down. They're about where they were projected to be at the beginning of the year. You would think that with all the self-quarantining, that too would have gone down. I'm just trying to figure out why that's the case, and I don't know. I don't think anybody knows right now, but they will in time. And in time, we're all going to look back on this, and I think we're going to be able to realize that much of what we thought we knew, we didn't know, and we acted accordingly because we thought we knew it. I don't fault people for that necessarily, but I do.
I'm not trying to
No. Let me finish. I don't fault people for that. What I fault is when people try to defend that position later on because they don't want to admit making mistakes or errors at the time. We all make mistakes, and what we thought was coming didn't come. But we need to make sure this never happens again if that was based on modeling. And the modeling, my understanding, was not based on national modeling. It was based on specific regional modeling, by the way, which what works in New York City doesn't work in South Dakota. And I think that's something that we're all going to have to take into account anyway. But I appreciate you coming here. Just next time, don't have to yell, okay?
Too much coffee. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker,
The next speaker, Ms. Ashley Womack.
Ms. Womack.